Hello guys, welcome. My name is AOK and I talk about news and anything that is on my timeline. Today we have a very interesting episode lined up for you. We're going to be talking about Jimmy Kimmel, the full story up until this point, all the updates. I think you might have heard about it. He was suspended for his comments about Charlie Kirk, or more specifically Trump in relation to Charlie Kirk, and there are now new reports, new updates that he might be coming back. So we'll get into details about that. Let's just get straight into it. On September 17th, 2025, ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely after Kimmel's monologue criticized conservatives for trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, claiming that MAGA figures were exploiting the tragedy. Now, he was wrong about the fact that, he wasn't wrong that he didn't specifically say that the kid isn't one of them, but he was right about the fact that people on the right were trying to distance themselves away from the kid even before we fully knew his identity. I guess, you just assume that the person who killed Charlie Kirk is going to be someone who's on the left, because most of the people who disagree with him are on the left. But it was still very callous and very brazen how quick they were to distance themselves away from him, especially Elon Musk. We don't even know who it is. The person isn't even in custody. The person is still out there. And Elon Musk is out here tweeting, the left is the party of murder. I don't know how we've decided that modern political discourse should be full of irresponsible behavior and we've just fully embraced the chaos in modern political discourse. But he did say that they were trying to characterize it as not one of them, but he also made fun of Trump. In fact, I think it's best if I just play the clip. Yeah. Just one second.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
The comment sparked outcry in MAGA world.
Yeah, so, that's all it is. And Inside Edition picked this clip. Well, I think we should also pay attention to the part that he also made fun of Trump. After saying this, he made fun of Trump and was like, that Trump doesn't really care about Charlie Kirk. He was asked a question about Charlie Kirk and then immediately went into talking about the big ballroom that he's been talking about this whole time. And it's like he cares so much about himself. It's hard for him to spend that much time talking about somebody else. And who knows, maybe even that's why he gets so upset about Epstein. Apart from the fact that it implicates him, it's time that we're spending talking about somebody else that died a long time ago. And I think that's part of the frustration. Apart from the fact that it implicates him, it takes the spotlight away from him and the things that he's doing that he's proud of. But so we'll get to more clips and we'll get to more footage. But before then, I want to remind you guys to please like and subscribe. I always say nobody needs your likes and your subscriptions more than small creators. And I'm just starting out. This is a new format that I'm trying out. This is the second video I'm doing in this style. So, just a like and subscribe to encourage that. And, it takes a second for you, but for me, it makes all the difference. So just help a brother out and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the other side. So the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, condemned Kimmel's remarks, hinting at regulatory consequences. Major ABC affiliates, including Nexstar and Sinclair, pulled the show from many stations, calling the monologue offensive and insensitive. So I think most people know what a news network affiliate is, but in case you don't know, the production company ABC, they produce the show, they own the rights to the show, but then they sell it to local stations, so that in case sometimes you may see something that says ABC7 or NBC San Francisco, those stations are owned by a separate company that isn't NBC. They just pay for shows for NBC. So the reason they do that is to so that they can get local advertising. Every single show can get has a relationship with every single station has a relationship with local businesses, and then NBC can focus on production and national ads and stuff like that. So Next on Sinclair, these are very, very, very right-leaning entities. So I don't know if you pay that much attention to local news. I assume most people watching this are in like the West or in America, but local news always has like a right-wing bent. They're always talking about crime. They're always talking about, things like that. So they were threatening to pull Kimmel. They were even saying that, look, if ABC doesn't do anything, we are not going to show him. So that also added to the pressure. And the FCC chair, who's supposed to be I don't want to say non-partisan, but at the very least, he shouldn't be acting in his capacity as someone in the government to censor political speech, censor free expression. Now you can say, okay, don't curse, don't do anything that is like violent, sexual. That's the job of the FCC. But political content, I think that is like a step too far for most people. So let's actually see his comments, and you can be the judge of just how threatening they actually are.
We've seen, but frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
Yeah. So he's essentially saying these companies, which is the affiliates can put pressure on ABC, and ABC can then fire Kimmel, or they can face additional sanctions for him. So the easy way or the hard way, kind of like a mafia boss. And even Ted Cruz, who is a Republican, I want to remind you, was even like, I mean, come on, that's like a mafia boss. That's like if someone was like, oh, nice TV station you had here. It'll be a shame if someone stopped your merger from happening. That's essentially what is going on here, and it's kind of shameful. It's kind of embarrassing, to say the least. So to add to the pressure, over 400 Hollywood figures signed an ACLU-backed letter defending Kimmel, citing concerns over free speech and government pressure on media. Critics warn that the suspension set a precedent for censoring political commentary. So the 400 people who work with Disney, that's like another, like a third layer in the whole like cake, is Disney owns ABC, who then goes to the affiliates. But anyway, they were putting pressure on ABC and Disney that if you're just gonna bow down to a president that is trying to clamp down on your speech, or at least a federal government that's trying to clamp down on your speech, we're not going to play ball. We're not going to be part of your production. And these are stars. So like, how are you going to make movies without the stars? So it really put a lot of pressure. And I think that actually helps to try to bring Kimmel back.
Over 400 Hollywood stars, including Jennifer Aniston, Tom Hanks, and Meryl Streep, have signed an open letter by the American Civil Liberties Union, condemning Disney's suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live and supporting free speech. The letter states, "We the people must never accept government threats to our freedom of speech. Efforts by leaders to pressure artists, journalists, and companies with retaliation for their speech strike at the heart of what it means to live in a free country." Some of the signatories include Selena Gomez, Robert De Niro, Jane Fonda, Olivia Rodrigo, Michael Keaton, Regina King, Diego Luna, Natalie Portman, Martin Short, Kerry Washington, and Pedro Pascal, whose trailer for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie was released this morning by Disney. The letter goes on to say, "We know this moment..."
Yeah, I don't need to point out what they're in, but Pedro Pascal from the Mandalorian, very critical Star Wars property right now. And then the other very critical Star Wars property, Andor, with Diego Leon, in case you noticed. So like, these are very, very key people in very, very important Disney properties, and that added to the pressure.
Is bigger than us and our industry. Teachers, government employees, law firms, researchers, universities, students, and so many more are also facing direct attacks on their freedom of expression. The message closes by calling on all Americans to fight to defend our right to speak freely. Kimmel was suspended following a comment in his monologue about MAGA's reaction to the murder of Charlie Kirk that went viral. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr then threatened affiliate broadcast licenses if they did not take action against the talk show host. This prompted affiliate owners Sinclair and Nexstar to say they would preempt the show, which spurred ABC to suspend Kimmel indefinitely. The move by the FCC and ABC has been followed by widespread condemnation, even among some Republican leaders such as Texas Senator Ted Cruz, and pledges to boycott Disney and its subsidiaries. For much more on this story and all the latest updates, go to thr.com. This is the Hollywood Reporter News.
So yeah, and I think they touched on something that's very important there. It's like we've had a lot of conversations about free speech, especially like over the past decade with the rise of like social media cancellations and how people expressing their opinions is very important. And I just want to say that it takes an additional step when it's the government stepping on the speech. The government shouldn't be it's much worse when the government is the one stepping on political speech, because the whole point of the speech, the whole point of being in a free society is to be able to criticize the government who you elected, to hold them accountable. And if you give them the power to stop criticism, then they're no longer accountable. So even if you like them, even if you like Trump, you still want to be able to see the criticism of Trump to make your mind up of whether or not you still like him despite that. And that's why freedom of speech is very important in a government context. And I know people have been saying that, well, the left has done it for years. Well, I don't even know if I endorse a lot of what the left was doing, but it was never the government. The government has state power and they're supposed to be held accountable and they're supposed to represent the people. And I think that is way more important and a way more different conversation than anything we want to point to in terms of, any other private company or freedom of speech conversation. Let's just quickly round up. ABC and Disney. Okay, yeah, this is the most important part of the story, the latest update. ABC and Disney announced that Jimmy Kimmel will return to air on Tuesday, September 23, after thoughtful conversations with Kimmel. However, some affiliate stations such as Sinclair say they will not resume airing the show unless certain conditions are met. I forgot to add it to the slide. The conditions that they said were he must apologize, and then he must donate to Charlie Kirk's foundation. Just think of how insane that is, right? Okay, let's just say he said the worst thing, right? Like let's even say he made fun of Charlie Kirk's death. He said, Charlie Kirk is dead, ha 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 ha. Why then would it make sense for him to donate to Charlie Kirk's foundation, a political foundation that represents views that he does not agree with? So because I made fun of his death, which he didn't, I'm just saying, but like, if just because I made fun of his death, now I must support his political project and help him achieve his political goals. How does that make any sense? And those are just like ridiculous demands. And then they said he should apologize. And then I think it's still going to get juicy, because if Sinclair doesn't air it, then the ratings are going to take a big hit. The ratings were already bad, but like if Sinclair affiliates don't air the show, it's not the same. But also, I don't know if there's any indication that Kimmel has said he's going to apologize. So we'll see how that plays out. I think, this is the report on him coming back. I don't think we're going to watch too much of this.
Disney is bringing him back on the air tomorrow. ABC says in a statement that we made the decision last week to suspend production to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment. But now, after having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, the ABC says we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. So Kimmel's getting back to work.
Wow, Brian, that is significant, especially given that some of the players outside of Disney in a corporate setting, like Nexstar and Sinclair, they essentially have deals that allowed them to preempt his show, and that's part of the reason that it was suspended. Yeah. Do we know how they might react to this?
We don't, and that becomes the big question now. Will these local station affiliates choose to air Jimmy Kimmel Live, or will they continue to protest the comedian, even though the network is bringing him back nationwide? ABC does gently chastise Kimmel in this statement. The statement says, quote, "The decision to suspend him We made it because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. So they're very gently saying they disagreed with Kimmel last week, but obviously they're bringing it back as of tomorrow.
And we don't know, obviously, all of the considerations that went into this, Brian. But I would say leaders, obviously, at ABC and Disney have had the benefit of a few days of feedback.
Yeah. Including from Disney employees who were very disturbed, including from Hollywood stars.
I want to point to what she's alluding to. She's alluding to the sheer number of people who canceled their Disney Plus subscriptions, all the 400 celebrities who are key parts of Disney show who rejected them. So this was exclusively public pressure. The people in power were like, get the guy out of here. We're not interested. Get him out of here. The government was like, yeah. No, we're not having this. This is insensitive. Get him off the air. But people canceled Disney Plus subscriptions and the celebrities pushed back. This was exclusively public pressure. They caved to public pressure. It was too much. And I don't know if it was going to increase or sustain, but I think they made that calculation and they were like, we'll take our chances with Sinclair rather than keep this public backlash.
And showrunners, the kind of people Disney wants to work with, and from free speech groups, politicians, even some Republican politicians like Ted Cruz. We know the condemnation of Disney has been widespread. Now, what we don't know yet is what the counter reaction will be from President Trump and his allies.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and from President Trump and his allies, and from Sinclair. But I think we'll leave it there. I imagine this isn't going to be the end of the story, but I think the story has developed enough that I wanted to touch on it. So, before I go, like and subscribe. Nobody needs it more than me. Well, maybe not me specifically, but smaller creators. So, just help a brother out.